Hello YouTube sci-fi gamer. Kerbal Space Program, the construction of Reacher Station in Moon orbit. I decided to build a station in Munar orbit in order to better serve my Kerbals and their landers and rovers and other such fun delights on the lunar surface. I had already assembled the command station and a couple, like a power supply with the solar panels. I've already done a few things, but I'm going to start with this clip because what had happened is I had tried to dock a fuel module with this, and due to its relative position to the moon, MechJeb decided to set up a rendezvous with the station directly through the center of the moon, and I lost the fuel module and made its own crater on the moon surface. So I decided to move the station out away from the moon a little bit, and as you can see I was doing my apoapsis and periapsis changes, and that way I didn't have to worry about the MechJeb or even just doing maneuver nodes. It would just be easier if it was further out, and I wouldn't have to worry about hitting the moon or anything like that. So this is what this clip is, and I will speed it up and get to the next launch and rendezvous with this command module shortly. So this is the launch of the fuel module for Reacher Station. It's my standard launch vehicle with the KW rocketry mod, one of my favorites, and then it's actually a Rockomax large fuel tank as the fuel module itself. This launch went well, got into space, and then all of a sudden it just separated, and it didn't separate correctly, and it actually pulled the engine away from the tank, which I will show. So yeah, it was just a pretty standard launch, nothing crazy. The tank at the top oscillated a little bit, but nothing out of control. It didn't break any connection there. I get into space and I coast to the atmosphere's edge, and then when I go to circularize, it separates, and it doesn't seem like there's anything wrong. It just, when the main tank there runs out of fuel, it just ejects the tank, but it also pulls the engine with it. So it took the whole launch stage, and as you can see, it's just breaking apart. It left the transfer stage, it broke off the RCS tank, and then it disconnected everything else. So I just had a dead tank. Alright, this is the relaunch of the fuel module for Reacher Station after that strange separation we had in the last launch. It goes pretty well. It's a standard launch, get into moon orbit, and then because the station was so close to the surface, for some reason MechJeb did a rendezvous maneuver node through the center of the moon, and I didn't realize it until all of a sudden everything exploded as it hit the surface of the moon. This is what prompted me to raise the orbit of the Reacher Station, which you saw in the first clip. I'm going a little out of order, but this way I think it makes sense. So as you can see, I mean, this is sped up pretty fast. You will get to lunar orbit, and then all of a sudden things will just go explosions and the end of the flight. Now, while we're waiting for some carnage, just throw some things out there. I have two orbital stations in orbit around Kerbal. I have probes at the moon, Minmus and Eve, as well as one around Kerbal, and that's it right now. I also have a lander on the surface of the moon with two Kerbals. Just a standard mission. It wasn't any scientific value, just to get there and put a flag down on the moon. But right now, that's all I got going on. So this Reacher station is a big. It was like 3 or 4 days worth of launches when I can get time, and they went pretty smoothly. I used MechJeb just because the amount of time that I have, I need to get something done quickly, and just the accuracy and efficiency with MechJeb makes it easy and makes it valuable for me, because I just don't have a lot of time to spend on doing launches and stuff like that. So we're getting up to the point where I'm going to rendezvous with try to rendezvous with the Reacher station and end up crashing into the moon, as you see. It was kind of surprising. I didn't realize it. I wasn't paying attention to the altimeter or anything. So I had just saved it prior to crashing. I was kind of worried that I didn't have enough time to fix my course, but as you can see, I turned around just in time. I was relatively low, and I managed to get my orbit back stable and then try again, and that's when I raised the orbit of the station that you saw in the first video clip, and then I was able to rendezvous with the station with this fuel module. I do like the textures of the moon, the new textures. They're very nice. They're very aesthetically pleasing. So it is kind of nice to look at the moon while you're actually doing orbital maneuvers. And so after multiple launches of the fuel modules, finally I get into a good orbit, and I start my orbital rendezvous with Reacher Station using MechJeb. It's by far more efficient than me doing maneuver nodes until I get close enough. But it's basically, this is it. This is the fuel module, and I would probably add 2 or 3 more of these. And also I have some around Kerbal that I'll probably add a couple more too. But this is the basics of what I do in order to make a orbital station. I start with the command module, and then I usually add a power, I call it a power bar, but it's just basically a structure that holds the solar panels. And then I'll add like a fuel tank, an RCS fuel tank, and also a hub, and then put like crew quarters on there and stuff like that. I don't have installed currently any of the Kethane mods, but at one time I did have a station that did have the Kethane stuff on it, so that was another thing that the station would be useful for. Right now there's not a whole lot of there's not a whole lot of uses for the station. I mean, there's some science module mods you can get, but they really don't, it's really not, it doesn't make it worth having one unless you just want to have one for the bragging rights, I guess. I hope in the future that they add like modules that do actual, experimentation, and then it kind of ties in with the career mode, and I'd like to see how that would tie into that. But that's about it for the fuel module. Finally that gets completed, and then we'll take a look at what's next. Alright, so we are in the middle of the launch of the hub module. This is a 6-way hub, so that you can add multiple directions to your station, so it's not just one straight line. They get kind of, you can get them pretty long, and they kind of flex strange and all sorts of cool things. So I usually like to add at least one of these depending on the size of the station, but most of the times I just have one. And this one is a little bit modified. It's not just the hub module, it's actually got some girders, trusses on it, just to make it a little bit more extended, in case you get stuff that's kind of a wide, sometimes it's kind of too wide to dock if you have like 2.5 or 3 meter parts. You can't really get them in close enough to dock without hitting the other ones. So I just added a couple extensions on this. This is just a real high-speed launch to dock, and then I destage or deorbit the transfer stage. And we're coming in for the final docking maneuver, and then once the docking is complete, I'll transfer fuel and RCS over to whatever transfer stage I'm leaving attached to the rocket. I generally leave one attached only because if I have to change any orbital parameters, I can do that with the one rocket motor left over. So that's the end of that. Alright, now here's the launch of the station berthing module. Basically, it's a bunch of just a bunch of struts and docking clamps, and they're kind of at 90-degree angles to each other, and this gives you plenty of room to dock if you want to dock space planes or any kind of large rocket, landers, anything that's kind of either very large or just awkward. This gives you plenty of space to do that, and gives you 4 berthings plus one docking clamp connects to the station, and then there's a docking clamp at the end as well to add on to it, or you could use it as another docking port. It also has plenty of lights on it, and that way you can see easily when you're trying to dock a ship, if you want to do it manually, or you can just see how wonderful Mechanical Jeb is at docking. This was pretty much a standard launch. I did have to strut down the top of the berthing module onto the transfer stage of the rocket fuel tank, just because it was just flopping around too much. But once I put those 2 struts on, there was no problem. It launched relatively well. It's not a super heavy payload, because it's mostly just the hexagonal struts or whatever, the square struts, and then the docking clamps, the lights, obviously the batteries. Then they don't take up much tonnage. But that was pretty much it for that one. That's gonna pretty much finalize everything other than just getting the habitation module up, and that'll be coming up next. So this is just we'll just speed up to the end here. Alright, we're in the final stages here of just getting my rendezvous with the station now. This is sped up to like 8 times normal speed, plus I think 3 times physical time acceleration while I'm docking, so it'll go really quick. As you can see a good shot of what the station berthing module looks like, and how you can see that you can fit a bunch of different size ships into that docking area and not have to worry about hitting others. That's basically what it's for. I mean, I've seen some videos of space planes, and just because of the way the wings are and stuff, they do become kind of bulky, and they wouldn't fit into a normal station, like if you just put a docking clamp in line on the station. Alright, so, what kind of Kerbal Space Program video would there be without some kind of crash or rocketry failure? So here are 2, and so as you can see, the berthing module is a little bit awkward, and it's flopping around a little bit. I didn't think it would break, but then as I got closer to upper atmosphere and the way the rocket's spinning, there's only one outcome that could happen, and it finally just gets to the point where it breaks off, and the rocket keeps going, and this thing's falling down. So that's one of them. And the second rocket failure was when I used seplotrons to kind of shoot away the lower stages. So what happened was it shot off these 2 rockets, and then the seplotrons ended up separating from this falling stages and shot up and hit the main tank of rocket and it exploded it. So that was interesting. But such is life, right? Of a Kerbal engineer. And that is the end of the initial stages of the Reacher Station build. If you like it, check out my other videos, and to follow will be the habitation module and maybe some scientific modules. Check out my channel, like, subscribe. Thank you.